What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the current data points, what shorts are doing, as well as give you a brief overview of their upcoming Q1 earnings. So I'm going to go over all that, but first make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that said, let's get right to it. So there is 1 minute left in the trading day. Right now, Lucid is flat. 14.95 million shares have been traded. 32.2 is the average. These are some of the transactions that have occurred on the secondary market above $100,000. So there has been only two. So institutions aren't really doing their part or really getting into Lucid essentially today. A lot of the volume being done today is just algorithmic trading, which is obviously what's been really dominant in 2024. Aside from that, today's been kind of boring, not to discredit today. Today's the first day back from a long weekend, so a lot of people are kind of learning their roles once again. Shorts aren't really doing that much. Of course, no data points coming out on a larger scale, and today there's been no news, no SEC filings specific to Lucid. So like I said, today's been rather boring. But again, I'll go over the data points and technicals and everything that you need to know. With today being April the 1st, Q1 numbers though are locked and loaded. So the next big thing for us as investors to kind of look forward to, aside from the gravity reservations opening up, is Q1 production and delivery numbers, when they're going to be unveiling it. We can kind of look back at this time last year just to use it as a benchmark on when Lucid might potentially be unveiling those numbers. And this time last year, they did it on April the 13th. And if I remember correctly, it was the exact same day. I think it was the 13th the year prior, or give or take 1 or 2 days. But regardless, that is going to be the next big thing for Lucid investors to really hang on to. And of course, logically, people will be taking these numbers and speculating the hell out of them. So of course, there'll be a lot of expectations that at least they're going to hit that 9,000. I think a lot of people have the mentality that Lucid purposefully chose a low number such as 9,000 so that way they can kind of hit a home run well above that. But we'll just have to wait and see exactly what does come from that. Just to give you a quick overview, I will quickly pop over to Interactive Brokers. I have been monitoring to see what analysts have been doing for their upcoming Q1 earnings. And so for instance, looking at the earnings per share, there was 5 analysts. Now there is 7 with estimates, and it went from -27 to -26 cents per share. So that does mean some analysts jumped on board and were very optimistic and bullish. So I think that's kind of a good thing. You will see another adjustment once Lucid does unveil their numbers, because the actual earnings call will probably be in the first week of May, but they do announce their numbers in, like I said, April the 13th or whatever. And just to give you a quick overview of the revenue, so currently there is 7 analysts with a consensus of 152.49 million. Previously, there was 6 analysts with a consensus of 149. So obviously another bullish analyst did jump on board. It could be associated to one of these analysts that did recently give a rating, maybe Cantor Fitzgerald, possibly Ross. The only negative side of looking at this is you don't see the specific ratings from each analyst. So again, take that with a grain of salt. While I'm actually on Interactive Brokers, I will give you a quick overview of the recent Elliott Wave technicals. So it does show a pivot point of $2.55, which right now Lucid is above that. And for as long as Lucid is above that, then this is where it is anticipated to get between the around high 3s to kind of the mid 3s. So I think that's fairly optimistic. Again, you need to watch for that 255 to hold. So that's a brief overview of their Q1 earnings, just on some expectations for their earnings per share, revenue, and just a timeline on when we can expect those preliminary numbers. So I'll keep monitoring a lot of these things just to give you an overview, and closer to that date, I'll give you my expectations on the actual numbers itself. But quickly moving on, going over some other data points, starting off with shorts. So shorts increased about 1.04 million shares. 29.98% of the free float is being shorted. Utilization is at 100%, and short score is 91.55. Interesting thing to note is under my other channel, Trending Stocks, I do a top 5 squeeze stocks, and that goes based off of the short score. Oddly enough, Lucid just barely made it outside of that top 5. Like Lucid definitely, as I've been saying, all the fundamentals are there for a good squeeze. You just need a surprise catalyst, and that's something that Lucid has always lacked in. So you never know, you could potentially see a squeeze. I think that'll be very exciting to see with Lucid. Actually, some positive price action moving it higher. But cost to borrow average is 33.78%. So like I said, shorts didn't really do all that much. relatively quiet day. Looking at options, same thing. Big money isn't really getting into Lucid through options. $342,000 in calls being purchased versus 483 in puts. Sentiment wise though, 53% of all the options being done today were bearish. So not necessarily the best start to the week, but of the call options that were purchased, you do see a consensus for it to be, looks like above around $3, give or take. And then looking at puts, you do see a consensus for it to be sub 250. So risk versus reward is somewhat evenly divided based on that. But quickly looking at the dark pool, a little bit more active, I guess, than the secondary market. This is what typically shorts like to use in larger institutions. So again, these are some of the transactions that did occur. Again, you can kind of take that with a grain of salt. But moving on though, looking right here, with it closing at $2.85, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So both extremes today, so the low of 281 and then the high of 291, didn't touch either support or resistance point. So again, it's kind of was just a mellow day, and I think that's kind of good. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But going into tomorrow, need to watch that 274 support to hold, and then that 298 resistance to kind of be the next target essentially for Lucid to break above. And so yeah, I think going forward, there's a lot of Fed speakers, a lot of data points starting off on Wednesday and Friday linked to consumers. So if that data is positive, then yes, you could see a rush of, I guess, value investors getting into Lucid. But aside from all of that, just looking on the actual chart, it is lower percentile of the boiling band. Looking at stochastic, you do see it at 39, so that is considered somewhat neutral, so it's not overbought, not oversold. As well, you don't see any defined trend. Number of retail investors have been slowly getting back in ever since it looks like the 12th, give or take. And over this last week, Lucid has been wanting to transition into the higher percentile. Just it hasn't really given any institutions reason to buy into Lucid and propel it higher. So I think right now a lot of investors, including even retail, is just waiting for Lucid, some catalyst, whether it be either McLaren deal. And I did have a chat over this weekend with 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 from Twitter. Hopefully you guys listen to it. Very knowledgeable guy, and he seems very optimistic about the foreseeable future. So again, it might just be a matter of time before something comes out from Lucid, and then of course this is where you're going to see a rush of value investors. But as it stands, Lucid's kind of just stuck in limbo, and it's very unfortunate, but whatever, it is what it is. This is a long-term play, as what a lot of people realize. If you are investing in Lucid, you have to be very comfortable with volatility. I think a lot of people know that by now, and just anticipate that there's going to be a lot of volatility in the foreseeable future as well. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Give yourself a shout out. Did you buy today? Did you sell? What did you do? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. But one final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account and throw $100 at it. They do give you 7 fractional shares of the Mag7, a total of $35 value. So that's pretty good return on investment just for throwing $100 at a account. So take advantage of this. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.